Thanks, Tammy. I'm here at Lafayette High School where Lafayette's going to play their homecoming game against Broadmoor tonight. And it's going to be a great game. We're going to hear all about the matchup in just a bit from Troy and Joel. But first, we have Dr. Malcolm Stubbs from the Lafayette Surgical Hospital. And Dr. Stubbs, tell me, I know it's football season, you're seeing a lot of injuries, I'm sure. What are the most common types of injuries you're seeing?
Well, I'll tell you, a lot of the injuries that I'm seeing this time of the year are shoulder injuries. Shoulder injuries represent the fourth most common injury in football, and I see quite a bit of that. The two most common shoulder injuries that I see are dislocations and separations, so it's something that happens a lot with this kind of contact out there.
And how do you normally go about treating those? Is it always a surgery that has to come with treating those types of injuries, or are there different types of treatment?
Fortunately, with shoulder injuries, only a small percentage end up requiring surgery. Most of the time, we're able to get these athletes back on the field with just rest, ice, probably some therapy, and maybe some protective gear, and usually they're good to go.
And I understand, we were talking a little bit before this, that you have clinics, and that's where the patients are actually diagnosed, and then they're sent to your surgical hospital to be treated. So tell me a little bit about how that works and where these clinics are.
Right. Well, I'm affiliated with Lafayette Bone and Joint Clinic, which is part of my group practice. That's where we see and evaluate patients and see if there is a need for surgery. Once that has been determined through exam or x-rays or diagnostic studies, then we'll take them to our hospital, Lafayette Surgical Specialty Hospital, and that's where we'll perform the procedures.
Okay, and last, let's talk about where those clinics are and where the surgical hospital is so that people can find you.
Our office and the hospital is located in the 1100 block of Khalisaloom Road. The hospital is right next to the road. Our office building is right next door.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Malcolm Stubbs of the Lafayette Surgical Hospital. We're going to check in now with Troy and Joel to hear about tonight's matchup, and we'll be right back down here with more of the pregame show.